with my daughter or my child at their school today, so I apologize for being outside. I'm Jenni Walke from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and I'm so very excited to have this conversation today with Kylie Mowbray-Allen from my digital BFF from Hello Media. Hello, Kylie. How are you today?
Great, Jenny. I'm so glad to be here with you too. But I'm intrigued. You're at school when, for us, clearly, lockdown and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is so awesome that here we are, 2021. You're able to jump on, do a live webinar from your child's school. That's amazing.
It's pretty good. Well, I'm kind of just a little bit down the road. I've hijacked a chair from Michelle's patisserie next door, sitting at the burrito bars tables and hijacking some space. But isn't that awesome that we can do that anywhere? Phones and internet is phenomenal. So it shows that we can be connected anywhere, doesn't it? That's what's pretty cool.
And that you can be mothering too, doing the job.
I'm very blessed that we're outside, that I can be outside, I can leave my home, and that I can do this. I mean, we know that in Brisbane and Queensland, we're very, very lucky, and we've been very lucky, touch wood, to to not have some of the challenges that are happening in other states, and we do empathise with them a lot because we've been there. But it's wonderful about things like this. I said to one of my clients yesterday that they're like, oh, I'm sick of sitting in my office, and I said, well, go and sit in your backyard and do your meetings. And she looked at me like, why would I do that? And I was like, why wouldn't you? If you're at home and you can't leave, go and change your position and find a space in your backyard or your front yard or your porch or somewhere else to do your meetings so that it feels like you're doing something different.
Totally. I love that. And, we're coming out of lockdown tomorrow. So that's very exciting. I'm wondering what will be the first thing that we'll do.
Well, what is your plans for the morning then coming out of lockdown?
Yeah, my husband was asking us last night, and it's kind of like, I don't know, because it's come at as a bit of a shock. I didn't think it would happen until after the school holidays.
Oh, seriously? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I thought we'd have another week, because there's only one more week of school, so it's quite weird to for that to happen. But yes, it's exciting all the same. So yeah, sorry for all of those that are still are, but I'm having a little celebration.
So I'm really, really excited about today's conversations. People watching on Zoom or listening to us on podcast or later in the day or on Facebook now, this is going to be such an important conversation for you. And I have a list of questions for you, Kylie. We are talking social media audits.
Yay, I'm really excited about it too.
Your bread and butter. This is the stuff you do.
I just am texting my daughter again.
While we're waiting for Kylie, so for me as a business coach, one of the things that we love to do, and I've been talking about this a lot in my conversations this week, is around looking at the systems that you use and the processes that you use in your business to make sure they're still working for you, to make sure they're giving you the results that you need, that they're all connected and they're still actually working for your business. And sometimes we forget that if you start, you start the process and you think, oh, don't worry about it, it just keeps running and we won't worry about it. But sometimes you don't know when it's no longer working for you, when you need to tweak it to see if the language or the brand or all those things are on point. And with social media, it's so important to do that, isn't it, Kylie?
Isn't it just? So it astounds me still to this day how many people will jump on a discovery call with me and say, I hate social media. Facebook doesn't work. In fact, I was in a meeting the other day with a whole bunch of people, and the person running it was saying, Facebook's the worst. You get nothing out of Facebook. It's no good for businesses. I'm like, wow. And she was saying organic.
You're not using it right then, mate, right?
I said, maybe you just got to really look at what it is that you're putting out there. Yeah. Because, anyway, there's so much to talk about around that. But it does astound me that people say that, because no, organic is not dead. No, Facebook is not dying. And there's so many amazing opportunities. But without doing an audit, you can't know where you're at. It's no different to looking at your finances and looking, if you've always got a credit card that's overdrawn or whatever, you've got to think, what's happening? What am I doing wrong? How do I change that up?
100%. And particularly with social media, because there are so many platforms coming on so often. And one of the biggest challenges we have, of course, is that shiny thing syndrome, which we've talked about before. And something shiny and new comes on and we say we need to jump on it because everyone else is on it, so I should be on it too. And then you start to get overwhelmed because you're on every platform trying to share different content or schedule your content across so many platforms. And you're like, well, what am I using it for? What's the point of it? So what's the first question you want to ask yourself when you're doing a social media audit for one of your clients or for yourself?
Well, the first thing that you'd want to do is think about, well, firstly, just pull them all together, get them in one place and go, what am I actually on? So if you suddenly realize I've actually got a Twitter account, but I'm not even using it. It has sat there dormant for a year. So have a think about that. Why is that? So before we even start pulling each platform apart, you really want to take stock of what you've got, where they are, and what you want to do with them. And I saw this really great Facebook page the other day, and I thought, well, okay, that's clever. She had this cover photo up, and not photo, graphic that said, this page is I can't remember what it said, but it was something like, just to let you know we're here, but click here and join our group. That's where all the fun's going on. So, and then her first post literally said, this is the only post we have. And I just want to lead you to website, to this, to that. It was almost like a little, bit.ly mini
landing page in Facebook.
Yes, it was. It was good. And it was like she was making it really clear. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm growing this page. What I want you to do is join my group and hang out and have some fun. And it's a clever use of it. If you really don't want to, because there's nothing worse than when you go to a page. And I had this happen a lot in January. I think I told you, when I was urgently looking for a mechanic, and everyone I was ringing was, some of them didn't even have an answer phone. You go on social media or their website, social media hasn't been updated since 2013. It was just a nightmare. And so I'd rather have something like
question, are they still there, don't you?
Exactly. So if you have a pinned post that tells you exactly what's going on, it's much clearer than just a 5-year-old post.
Yeah, definitely. So we've started with that, and that's a really important tip. So everyone, make sure you list out all the social media that you're on and have a look at how recent or how often you're using that social media. And so why do we want to know that? So what's important about us keeping social media up to date?
Well, partly for that is that we don't want it to look like we don't even exist, because we've got a 5-year-old post as our last post or something like that. But I also know a lot of people feel completely overwhelmed with all the platforms. So I do think that's a good idea, having that pinned post saying, if you're not going to be using Facebook business page, for example, having a post saying, this is our page, but where we hang out is on Instagram, here's the link, or where we hang out is on LinkedIn or whatever. So rather than just have it old crusty old post, have it really clear what the purpose is and what you're defining exactly what you're doing there. But the next thing would be just defining your goals for each of those networks that you're on. So you need to decide what you actually want to be doing with it. So are you there just to increase brand awareness? Are you trying to be getting more sales and leads? Are you trying to grow your community and get really good community engagement going on? That for me is always my goal. Are you trying to grow your audience, so like your followers and all of that? Or are you trying to increase traffic to your site? So what are you actually on that platform for? That's a really, really important one. Now, a lot of people, it's about brand awareness. If you think about a plumber, they're not necessarily going to be having people using Instagram or Facebook as a search engine. Most people would be jumping onto Google and searching for plumber in my area. But having something on social media is a really good thing to do also, but not to be thinking of it as a search engine. So just having some brand awareness would be a really important one for them, for example.
So really we're looking at how and so when you're looking at your goals, you also, it gives you an opportunity to measure how effective those platforms are at achieving and helping you achieve those goals, isn't it? Because we talked last week about goals being providing a direction for people, and that's kind of the way that we're looking and where we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to achieve. So if we set those goals for each of the individual platforms, and they would obviously be different across each of the platforms, then it allows us to understand how we're going against those goals and what we might need to do to change to reach them.
Absolutely. So I'll give you some examples with my own accounts. So, excuse me, Instagram for me is very much about brand awareness. So I'm hanging out there, but I'm not doing lives. I'm not doing all those kinds of things that I could and should be. But what I'm doing is I'm there. I'm, growing an audience that's interested in what I'm putting out there, and I'm having a little bit of fun with it. And sharing some tips really, and sharing a little bit of inspiration and sharing a little bit about me, but it's definitely very much brand awareness. Facebook, on the other hand, is where I'm using it more of leading people somewhere. And most of the leading people somewhere is about leading them to my Facebook group, because the Facebook group is where the community is, and that's where we hang out. That's where people can ask questions and get involved, and I can share, hey, there's our new workshop coming up next week. Hey, if you want, to watch some old webinars about Google My Business or whatever, jump on YouTube and have a look at that. So it's very much a community. So for me, every single one of my platforms, and obviously there's Pinterest and all those as well, but every single one of them has a definite different purpose. I don't have the same purpose across the board. What about yours, Jenni?
Really good question. In fact, we've just been really focusing on that at the moment. I think elephant in the room for my Instagram is, I guess, where I get to share a little bit more insight and some of my thoughts, and I'm a little bit more structured in the way that I approach Instagram. So it's a really great place. It has my links to all the different programs that we do in the bio, and it gives people a sense of, I guess, a little bit deep dive into my brain, a little bit more about me. Whereas I find the Facebook is probably the opposite. Facebook to me is really that brand awareness place. It's where I go to share information about the program in a little bit more detail, because you can put that in more detail on Facebook, where we do these posts, and I guess so people can find me. What I like about being across all the posts, but I use a lot of LinkedIn as well, but what I like about being on a number of social media platforms for me is that when somebody Googles Elephant in the Room Consulting, or they even Google my name, all the different social options come up, including my website. So my website's always first, but then it shows them all the different other places that they can find me. So that if they're interested in saying, well, I want to connect with you, but I don't like being on Facebook, they can choose how they want to interact with me. And that's what I like about being across a range of social medias, because I know some people are not on Facebook, but they'll play with me on LinkedIn, and they're not on LinkedIn, but they'll play with me on Instagram. So that gives us options for my clients.
Absolutely. And that's why you don't want to have it the same across the board. If all you ever do is auto post and there's none of your own personality coming into anything from time to time. And I do auto post a lot, don't get me wrong, I definitely do, but then I always do my own posts on the weekend on Instagram, for example. And on Facebook I'm always sharing things from other pages and whatever. So I definitely try to mix that up, have different goals, and have different interactions going on, because you want people to follow you on all those places, and if they are, then you don't want it to be the same, because then they're not going to stay following you. What would be the point? And I noticed that a lot with stories. So I look at stories a lot. And if it's the same stories on Instagram and the same stories on Facebook, then I'll generally just swipe through, and I kind of lose interest because I've already seen it. And that's doing you more damage than good when people swipe. So try, if you can, to come up with some different stories on each. So that's really important.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about that in relation to specifically in terms of posting. So when we're doing this audit, there's a giant truck going past me right now. But when we're doing this audit, when we're looking at an audit for the business, what are the key things that we're looking at in the audit? So if we can nut it down, rather than just kind of having a look at it and saying, oh, this is cool, and is this on brand, and is it meeting my purpose? What are some of the specific questions that you look at when you do an audit for somebody?
Well, I'm glad you brought up branding, because that's my first thing I will always look at. Do we even know where we are? Do we even know who we're looking at? And it's so weird when people have different names on the different platforms. And I've seen that a lot. And I'm like, that's confusing me. And I even know you, let alone how it must be for other people. It can be incredibly confusing. Now, it is really difficult often to get the same name and to be able to grab the same Facebook, the same Instagram, the same everything, but to have a version. So, for example, excuse me, Instagram on our account is hellomedia.team, because we can't have Hello Media. There's so many of them. But then on Facebook, we can't even have hellomedia.team. So we've got hellomedia.dreamteam. And so on some of the other platforms where I could have just Hello Media, I've chosen to go with hellomedia.team with those as well, just so that I've got that consistency across the board. So that's the first thing with the branding. But then what does it even look like? Have you got your logo there? Or on some of them, have you got your face? And on others, have you got your logo? Like, try and make sure that it's the same across the board. And then we'd be looking at our cover images, for example. And then we look at our about sections. What are we actually doing with all of those? So before we've gone into even looking at our posts and our analytics and any of that kind of stuff, just what do we look like to other people when they come and find us, or when they, click on our links from our website, or however they're getting there, what does it actually look like to them?
And that's such a great tip, because I've done the same thing when I look at a number of my clients, and you and I talk to a lot of people around their businesses. And one of the things that I'm looking about is consistency and clarity of message. And that's one of our core pillars. So when you're looking at, particularly across social media, people say to me, oh no, but that's my fun one, or this is this one. And like, that's great for you, but unless you're very clear, like you said earlier with your client or your colleague who said this Facebook page is just as a holding page, find me other places, that really doesn't work for you, because it does start to confuse the market when we have particularly different colors and different fonts and different image styles, and even down to filters these days. With the number of filters, people decide they're going to go crazy with filters, and all of a sudden that looks like, you know, you're not quite sure where they are. So that's so important with the branding, isn't it, to have that consistency? And you talk about that a lot in the work that you do, but that brand is more than just what you say and what your logo looks like. It's actually the imagery and all that look and feel as well.
Absolutely. And so one of the favorite things that I like for imagery and Hello Media is the swimming pigs from the Bahamas. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. It's on my bucket list to swim with the pigs. But for whatever reason, and I've loved pigs since I was a little girl. And it's not that pigs are a symbol of my brand. They're just one of the types of imagery that I like to use.
It's fun. And they're fun. And seeing a pig swim is just fun.
You know, so our imagery is kind of odd because I really like vintage stuff. So I do a lot of typewriters and old kind of stuff, old technology mixed with new technology and swimming pigs. So it's pretty kooky. Yeah, and weird dancing men as well. So it's really kooky imagery, or mix of kooky imagery. But one thing you can be sure of is that you go to our Facebook, and it's a video on the cover image of swimming pigs. You go to YouTube and there's the swimming pigs. So you can make sure that they're everywhere. So it's really, really recognizable. However, when you join the group, they're different covers. They're definitely showing you what's going to be happening in that group. So it's all about, you know, what tips and sharing and things like that. So, but still same colors, same everything across the board. So it's very, very clear where we are. Don't go to a JB Hi-Fi and find that in Brisbane, the branding is bright green, and in San Diego, the branding is red. Like the JB Hi-Fi is the same yellow across the board always. So making sure it's consistent so there's no confusion is absolutely
And that, of course, builds trust, doesn't it? It's about building trust and engagement with clients. You know you're in the same place. It's one of those things when you're getting so much spam on your phone or so much spam in emails these days. The things that I look at is when I see something that's a little bit I'm not sure of, I go, are the colors the same? Does the brand look the same? Because there's always something different when it's a spoof account or whether it's a spoof email. So having that brand, having the brand awareness of the colors and the logos, and that, it's actually about building trust and engagement with your clients, not just about making sure you look the same, but there's a level of trust and value that you're bringing with that brand.
I totally agree. Then the next one is your destinations and things like your landing pages and where are you sending people? So obviously on Instagram, you've only got that one live link spot in your bio. On Facebook, you know, you can put them in all sorts of different places. On YouTube, on Pinterest, you've got, you know, got places that you can send people to. The one thing that I really, really, really don't like, and a lot of digital marketers feel very differently to me, which is I don't like using something like a link tree, for example. What's the point of a link tree when it's a barrier to your website? It's a barrier to where you want them to go. So make a link tree on your own website. Make a landing page that you send people and where you tell, like for me, my link tree is my homepage. So in there, it tells you, hey, join Bite-Sized Conversations. Hey, join our new Let's Get Visible workshop. Hey, go to this. Hey. And so it's telling you in a nutshell on our homepage what it is that we do, what we offer, who we are, and where you can connect with us and how you can connect with us. So to me, it makes no sense at all, because what we're always trying to do is drive that good quality traffic to our site. So by having that link tree, or there's many other things other than just link tree, it's one little barrier getting them to where you want them to go. That's my belief anyway. So
I actually love that, and that's just a massive light bulb for me. Like literally, I've just written that down as you've been talking, because it's so true. Because at the end of the day, even if you're sending them to the link tree and they go to those 5 or 6 links because they're the ones that you want them to send, if they don't click on anything, they're nowhere. They've gone nowhere, haven't they? And it's never occurred to me until you've just said that to me. Whereas if you send them to the homepage and there is a landing page, they're still on your homepage. They're still on your space. So they've got options to look around if they don't like any of those options that you've given them. Brilliant. People, you need to write that one down, because that has just completely changed the world. Like 100% changed.
You can also have it leading them to a page. If you don't want it to be a homepage, you can lead them to a page that's not even in your navigation. Yeah. So it's the page that they go to that's only coming there from Instagram or from Facebook, etc., just to tell them what you want them to know. And then, of course, they can cruise around your website once they're there. But a Linktree often, or I shouldn't keep saying Linktree, but one of those types of things, they're not even necessarily on brand for you. So yeah, making sure that you're getting them where you want them to be going is really, really important. But one thing also is that people often say that they change up their bio on Instagram and the link every week, depending what they want people to do. Because, of course, in their post, they'll say, jump into the bio and click the link for whatever it is you're wanting them to do. But people do actually look at old posts. So if I'm on that post and then I go to the bio, and of course it's taking me somewhere else. Whereas if you had the page on your website where they can find out all the things, then eventually they find where they need to be going, rather than it mixing up all the time.
Such a great tip. Honestly, that's blown my mind today. So when we're looking at this audit, so we've looked at what basically their brand, we've looked at where we're playing, we've looked to make sure our intentions are there. We're going to look at some analytics and some goals in terms of are we reaching those and how effective we are going to do them. When do we get to look at the content and looking at the effectiveness of the content? How do you do that, and how do you measure if it is effective?
So actually, a lot of people would look at content before they look at analytics, but I'm the opposite. I want to look at my analytics first, and then I'm going to deep dive into my content. And if I give you the example of that woman the other day that said, to this whole massive group, Facebook's dead, social media is no good, blah, 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 blah. And my only thing I could say was, well, what are you actually saying to people, and who is your audience? Because if it's not landing with your audience, then either your audience is wrong and you're attracting the people that actually aren't going to be people that you want to be working with, or with the messages that you're putting out aren't on point at all for your brand. So you can come back and see, in a way, you don't even, if you're not confident with looking at your social media analytics, even just going back and looking at your last 10 posts. And I'm not so interested in your likes, because I use this analogy all the time of the Olympic medals. So if you get a bronze medal, that's like getting a like or someone saved your post. So that's great. It's happened. It's awesome. You got a spot on the podium. But let's go on to the silver medal. So when you get a silver medal, it's because somebody's done a comment. So when you think about Instagram and there's scroll, we want to stop the scroll. So the first thing that'll stop them is that graphic. Then we want to intrigue them into reading your caption, and then we want to give them, ask them for something. So respond in some way, give a comment, whatever it is. So a comment's really awesome. That's a silver medal. But when we're going for a gold medal, that's a two-pronged approach as well. So the first one would be if somebody tags a friend. So if I saw a post and I tagged Jenni and went, look at this, you're going to love this product, Jenni. And so firstly, Jenni's never seen that before. So she's like, yes. And secondly, if you really are interested in what they're doing, you'll then go and find their page, follow them, like them, whatever. So that's your eyeballs. That's why you're getting a gold medal for that. And then the other gold medal is that if somebody then shares that, because that's either going to their personal, to their business, wherever, into their stories. So that's brand new eyeballs on that post as well. So I think about, when I look at my post and I'm thinking, what's been going on with my engagement? I'll be going, okay, so am I just getting loads of likes? Probably that's because I'm not putting any kind of call to action in there. I'm not actually asking or telling you to do anything. So when we look at, if it's just likes, I'm like, okay, I've got to totally mix that up. Then we go to the comments. That's awesome. But what about tagging a friend, or what about sharing it? So it's all about me and my caption directing people to do something. So that's an easy way of looking at how things are going and performing.
I've just interpreted that for the guys who are on this Zoom as basically stopping the scroll with a captivating image. I love that. Get them to read with intriguing content. You know how much I love words like that. Encourage them to comment with a call to action, and then invite them to share with others. What a great way to look at how you want. And that's a really simple way of doing your I love your bronze, silver, and gold analogy. We've talked about that before, and it's such a simple analogy, because it is about getting people to expand the audience, isn't it? That's the purpose of social media, is to get that engagement beyond what you're doing right now and getting other people to see it and get those new eyeballs on it, which is so cool. So Absolutely. If you find you've got an account and you find that you've got a range of social media, but it's not working for you, something's not working, What's the first thing that you recommend to somebody that they do if they realize that their 5 or 6 platforms aren't working for them and they're not feeling engaged anymore?
Let's just peel it back then, or pull it back and go, okay, let's think about one of those platforms. So let's go, okay, it's going to be Instagram this week, and I'm going to study. Why don't I go back and look at my last 30 posts? Which ones did well? Which ones did people engage with? Which ones did they interact with? What, even if it was just likes, what was I getting on that, and why was that happening? Is it that they really thought it was beautiful imagery? Is it that the caption worked well? What was actually happening with that for me? And if it's really nothing, that was like, say there's no likes, there's no nothing, I'm like, okay, well, for starters, I've got to mix up what I'm putting out there entirely, because I'm not reaching the people that I want to be. But actually, let's rewind it. Are we also using hashtags? How are we trying to get people to find us that will then interact with us? So we've got to think about not just what are we putting out there, but also how are we reaching those new people? Because it's not enough just to do a great graphic and an awesome caption. We've actually got to have people seeing us. So if I've only got 10 followers and we're not putting any hashtags in there and giving people ways to find us, then, you know, we're pretty much talking to nobody. So this is my top tip of the day, is repurpose that content. The stuff that's been gold. And if you're really confident with the analytics and you're looking at all of that, see the good stuff that you've done before, repurpose it. Maybe mix up the caption a little, but keep putting it out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single day.
I love that idea of repurposing, because I know it took me a long time to do that. In fact, talking to my team and saying, why are you repurposing? Why are you writing new content all the time? And recognizing which of those good posts. And that's why I've got an amazing team who actually help me do that, identify those amazing posts and make sure that they are available to repost, and we schedule those ready to go. But I love that as a tip, because it does help reduce that overwhelm and that need to have to always be writing content every day and feel like that you're having to reinvent the wheel. Because as you know, as you've told me before, if you have the content that's really good, you can swap an image out, and in a different audience, they will read that completely different, because the image will give them a different sense to start with. So they'll read the caption differently, or they'll engage with it differently if you change something simple like the image.
Absolutely. And like, I wasn't on Instagram yesterday, so whatever you put up, I missed it. So give it to me again in 3 months' time and I might see it. So it's always people going to be seeing your content.
That is such an important tip. You have like completely blown my mind today. And there was one more question that I want to ask, and I know we're running out of time. But so if I'm feeling a little bit unsure about my social media, your tip, apart from just focusing on one single platform and maybe getting really confident and building that and then building out from that, what is the platform that you think is working for everybody, that even if they're not confident, they should try and have a play with to build their confidence through?
Actually, it might surprise you, but I think that platform is Pinterest.
Yes, I thought you might say Pinterest after our conversation a couple of weeks ago. I completely agree.
I just feel like it's the one place that you can hang out, you can try it out, and not have any concerns about what's going on, because you're not sharing an opinion, you're not sharing a thought, it's not getting all political, it's just about sharing images or infographics or whatever, and going out and reaching people according to what you put in the description. So you don't have to be stressed about your follower numbers. All you want is for people to be repinning your posts. So to me, it's a really safe place to be, and you can play around with it in a personal way without even using it for business initially, just to give it a go. And for example, like I said to you a few weeks ago with planning that Harry Potter birthday for my daughter. So I knew nothing about Harry Potter. I still don't want to know anything about Harry Potter, but I made an epic Harry Potter birthday. So maybe as a challenge for you all would be, come up with something that you want to go and research, create a secret board, and just go and pin a whole lot of stuff into that secret board.
And what I love about the tips that you gave from Pinterest last time we did a couple of weeks ago is that also, because that content is there, people will, if they're searching it and it's got the right, whether it's the right tag or the right word or the right title, people will find that forever. So it's not the same as Facebook, in the sense that if you do an amazing post and it goes 3 months later and you haven't repurposed it, people can go back and find stuff. I know when I've been playing on Pinterest lately, I'm finding stuff from like 5 or 6 years ago, because I've just happened to use the right tag or the right put the right search in. So it's a really good way to actually see who's searching and what's interesting to your clients and your potential clients.
That's right. And remember that when you click on that image, it takes you directly to where that you want them to go. So directly to your website or whatever. So that is just so clever, because, so that's why you need to be hanging out on Pinterest and try it out and see how it goes for you.
Really great tip. So to build confidence, play with Pinterest, making sure that you're focusing on getting that gold engagement of getting someone to comment and share your posts. So looking at what your images look like, making sure your content is captivating, but also making sure that you set those goals so that you can go back and decide whether or not those platforms are working with you. Such amazing tips today, Kylie, as always. So excited. A page of stuff like you do when I reach out, and now that is what me and my team will be doing in the next couple of days.
That's so awesome. I love that.
If we don't feel confident doing this, how can we find you to help us do these social media audits and all the other work that you do?
Jump onto the website hellomedia.team and click on book a discovery call, and we can have a chat, or you can jump into a Facebook group, Hello Media, and obviously follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and get to hang out. But Jenni, what I just love is that even 3 years down the track, we are still learning from each other every single week, and I think that's so awesome. And as we always say, every coach needs a coach. And the fact that for those of you that don't know, Jenni and I meet before this every Friday morning and coach each other. So always remember, every single person in business needs a coach. So Jenni, how can people get in touch with you?
So they can find me, Facebook and Instagram is where I hang out, at Elephant in the Room AU. Also, you can find me at my website, which is eitrconsulting.com. But please come and, again, book a chat, have a chat. We've got a great network called People, Purpose, Profit, which is a community of business owners that just want to connect and share and coach each other and motivate each other. So find me, Instagram, Facebook's probably the best place. That's where I tend to hang out the most.
Awesome. And Jenni, I just want to share that next week we have our brand new offering starting, which is a workshop series. It's one per month for 12 months, and it's called Let's Get Visible. So the topic of
will there be images of like leg warmers?
Yeah. As I've been creating it and designing it and all of that song over and over and over in my head.
It'll be in my head all day. For those who don't know what we're talking about, Let's Get Physical from Olivia Newton-John is now going to be in your head. Let's Get Visible. I love it.
And so that's the name of the whole series. But the topic for next week for our first one is 5 steps to great social media strategy. Actually, that might be something like that. I can't even remember the exact name.
Make sure you go to it. Make sure for those who are watching us, check out hellomedia.team and find out information, because your masterclass are epic. You learn so much, and it's actionable stuff. It's not just really cool information. You get to do stuff in the process and during the workshop. So make sure you reach out and do that. If not anything else, that's your goal for next week, I think.
And it's going to be at 10:50 or 10 o'clock next Friday. So directly after this.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting.
Look to it. All right. Well, thanks, Jenni. So our topic for next week.
That's a very good question. I always forget. We'll have something fabulous for you guys, I'm sure.
I know we had a topic, but I'm always forgetting to. So anyway, there you go. Value of marketing is our topic.
Ooh, wow, that's a big one.
For reminding me, the value of marketing. I'm really excited about that.
That would be amazing.
All right, and that's the 17th of September. I look forward to it. Jenni, have a great day at school today, and wonderful weekend. Awesome. And thanks everyone.
Have an amazing day. And sorry about the background noise, everybody. Really appreciate you joining us.
I love that this is the true, real juggle of life.
It is true.
Take care.